Hey everyone, Clio here, and today I'm diving into my fantasy TBR. So these are all the fantasy books that at this point in time I still have to read. Probably get some more for Christmas, but I think the majority of those I have already read. But so might be some extra by the time that I get to my all the books that I have yet to read video that is coming out on the last day of 2020. That will be the most accurate list of everything that I still have left. But so without further ado, let's just simply dive into it. This is the third video in a series. So I did my big book TBR, some of these will overlap with that one. Then I did my classics TBR, this is my fantasy TBR. And then, as I said, the final video for this year will be a list of all of the books that I own that I haven't read yet at the end of 2020. First book on there is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is the first in a trilogy. It is a story about parallel Londons in which some of them have more or less magic than others, and we are looking at a world hopper, but I don't really know too much about the premise. Never read a V.E. Schwab, but I've been hearing mixed things about it recently, so it's made me kind of hesitant. On the other hand, I think I do definitely want to give it a go because I love books set in London, and even though I've had already bad experiences with magic stories set in London, think Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, I'm hoping for better with this one. Next up we have The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, which is also the first in the series. This is the first in the First Law trilogy, and this is a grimdark fantasy series. It's very much a character focused one. As far as I hear from people, it's basically got close to zero plots within the first one, but I personally actually really like character-focused fantasy, and so I don't necessarily need a lot of a plot, so I can definitely get past that, and I hear that it's just amazing, that the character work is brilliant, so I'll be definitely happy to dive into this one at some point. And then we have Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is another one of those cases where I wanted to buy books off of some of the names, like the big fantasy names that I was hearing a lot on BookTube that I personally had never been introduced to, because this is a lot of YA fantasy from the time that I was no longer reading YA fantasy, or these were all names that I have in any case never really been exposed to at that point in time, and so I haven't really had great experiences with that project. But so I want to dive into this one, see if her writing is for me or not. As far as I'm aware, it's very whimsical, which could be a hit or miss. I like the whimsy of magical realism, but I don't like Neil Gaiman's whimsy, for example, so we'll have to see where this one fits in. As far as I know, it has super flowery writing. This is a book about a lost city of Weep, and we're looking at a scholar who studies this city, but through the circumstances within this book is finally able to also go and visit it. Next up we have a full trilogy, which is a Traitor Spy trilogy by Trudy Canavan, which is a continuation series to the Black Magician trilogy, which I read in my early 20s, I think, and absolutely loved, in which we're following this girl called Sonia who is living in a slump, and in that world only people from the nobility are supposedly magical. However, we find out that Sonia does have magical powers as well. So we have The Ambassador's Mission, we have The Rogue, and then we have The Traitor Queen. So I'm hoping to really love this one, but I'm kind of fearful that we are just revisiting this world rather than starting a new story with other characters, because I'm kind of fearful that it's just going to be buying into the sort of nostalgia of the previous series rather than really exploring a whole lot of interesting new stuff, but I'm hoping to be proven wrong here. Then we have The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. This is the first book in the Gentleman Bastard trilogy, which is a series that is about a heist plot, and it's got pirates in it, I think, and it's also supposed to have great friendship representation. It's often referred to by people who have read it in their top fantasy series list, so I do want to dive into this one myself. Then we have one that I don't hear too much about, and that is Emperor of the Eight Islands by Leon Hearn. This, I think, is Japanese inspired fantasy, and I don't know too much about the premise actually, so let's look here. What does it say? An ambitious warrior leaves his nephew for dead and seizes his lands. A stubborn father forces his younger son to surrender his wife to his older brother. A mysterious woman seeks 5 fathers for her children. A powerful priest meddles in the succession to the Lotus Throne. These are the threads of an intricate tapestry in which the laws of destiny play out against the backdrop of wild forest, elegant court, and savage battlefields. Set in a mythical medieval Japan inhabited by warriors and assassins, ghosts, and guardian spirits. Emperor of the Eight Islands is a brilliantly imagined novel full of drama and intrigue. I'm intrigued at least. Japanese inspired fantasy in any case was enough to get me intrigued. But yeah, I'll be very interested to see what this is about. It says here, one of the reviews from one of the magazines is like the best story of magic, love, sex, revenge and suspense. Sure, give it to me. Send it my way. I'm fine with that. Then we have Master of Sorrows by Justin Call, which I bought when it just came out and it's still on my shelf, so I really need to read this at some point. As far as I'm aware, this is sort of like a villain origin story, so our character is going to this prestigious academy, but he's destined, I think, to become the anti-hero, to become the evil force within this land. Then we have The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington, first book in the Lycanius trilogy. Been hearing some so-so things about this one, but I'm definitely hoping for it to be a solid one. But actually I don't have really a memory of what this one is about. I heard a booktuber talk about it at some point and she really got me excited into this one, and so then I picked it up. Or actually I was given this one in a giveaway, but I chose this one because of the excitement that this booktuber was showing for this book, so I'm definitely hoping to fall in love with it. Then we have A Winter's Promise by Christelle Davos. This is also the first book in a series, which is in French is called La Passe Miroir, but I don't know what the English title is for this series. This is the first book in the series, and as you can see, I have it in French, which could be a big mistake, so we'll have to see how I get along with the French text. Might need to purchase it in English at some point if I find myself getting lost in translation with this one. But so I think we're looking at this girl who has the power to unlock objects' memory if she touches it, and this is all about a sort of world where cities are these different spheres that you can travel to, and it's very much political fantasy, I think, which I'm very much down for. I love political fantasy, and I think she's kind of navigating a new political system in which she has been kind of married off for political alliances, so I don't know too much about this one, but everybody seems to be loving it, and so I do want to dive into it, hopefully sooner rather than later. Maybe in February. February is Polarton, and this book would fit in with Polarton, so possibly I'm gonna put it on my February. But I already have my February TBR is already full in principle, but maybe I'll switch things around there. And then the final two that I have on here are books 1 and 3 in the House Moving Castle trilogy, so I don't know whether they are all, like whether you need to read them in succession. If you do after this one, I will have to buy the second one if I want to continue. But so yeah, I love the Studio Ghibli movie of House Moving Castle. I hear that the book is quite different, but I still hear a lot of people enjoy it, and so the fact that it's different is kind of making me hesitate, because the Studio Ghibli movie just has special place in my heart, and so because I don't really know how it's going to be different, I'm also not going to go into a synopsis with this one, I think, but it's definitely whimsical, magical, special. It's got this character in it who seems to be callous but actually does have a heart, or we're trying to retrieve his heart. So yeah, I love that movie and I hope for the best with this book. I don't know, as I said, whether House of Many Ways is really related to it or not, and whether we took elements from this to put into the House movie maybe, I don't know. In any case, I'm eager to dive in. So that would be my fantasy TBR at this point in time. There are definitely quite a lot of fantasy series that I have my eye on, or for which I have finished the first book but I still need to buy the second one, so it's not part of my TBR, but it's definitely part of my mental TBR. But so this is every book that I physically own that I still need to get around to in the fantasy genre. Definitely let me know which you want to see me prioritize. I don't make any promises because I do have certain prioritizations with fantasy in mind already, but I might, you know, never know. Definitely try to sell some of these to me. But so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video and see you guys for a future one. Bye!